Thank you for everyone behind organizing this lecture series and the opportunity to speak today on the topic of riddles. Just put the timer on. So, Riddles in the Grass as today's title. And today I would like to propose that The Lord of the Rings contains a riddle contest analogous to the one found in The Hobbit, which at the same time is unique in its form and content. More precisely, I would like to argue in this paper that the chase conducted by Aragorn and his companions Gimli and Legolas, or call them the Three Walkers, over the fields of Rohan and Pango Forest and a few other places, as we will see, presents a series of riddles whose unraveling proves decisive to the development of the narrative, the recovery of Aragorn's identity as king, and finally the reader's perception of the natural world of Middle-earth in itself. Before I dwell further on the question of riddles, I would like to make a note on the etymological roots of the word riddle as such, as this allows us to better apprehend Tolkien's usage of this device in the novels. The Oxford English Dictionary, it's a bit technical there, but bear with me, states that the word in question, riddle, has had in Old English a much wider range of senses than in Middle English and later on. Today we think just of this puzzle. But back then it meant counsel, it meant imagination, as well as interpretation, among other meanings. And the word counselor is important, as Tolkien will play with this multiplicity of meanings. So now that we have looked at the word riddle and its different meanings, again on this, I would like to say that it means counsel, and the word reed, the archaic reed, which will be used in the story today, as we will be reading, also means counsel. And together, they will enable us to understand the meaning of the riddles found in the Lord of the Rings. But before that, I would like to draw our attention to The Hobbit. Riddles in The Hobbit. So in the story of Bilbo Baggins and the dwarves, the reader comes across two important riddle contests. The first contest, clearly demarcated by the chapter titled Riddles in the Dark, takes place under the Misty Mountains and ends with Bilbo's keeping of the ring. And we have a picture there of Gollum and Bilbo as Gollum approaches dangerously towards Bilbo. The second one takes place under the Lonely Mountain, where Bilbo meets the uncanny and dangerous Smaug, and proves his value again to the dwarves by learning the dragon's weakness in a riddle game. Before The Lord of the Rings came to be written, riddles had already become a pivotal part in Tolkien's narrative and character development. The riddles found in The Hobbit were of Tolkien's own invention. The author was drawing from a sacred and tradition of immense antiquity, as the narrator states in The Hobbit. Indeed, the riddle game and its various ramifications in story, myth, and poetry find numerous examples in the Anglo-Saxon tradition. Looking at that lays beyond the scope of this paper, but I would like to know that wanted to know that as Tolkien was very well acquainted with this tradition as a scholar of Old English. With his professional knowledge and own engagement riddles in The Hobbit, we expect to find numerous and important instances in his major literary work, The Lord of the Rings. Riddles in The Lord of the Rings. In the first chapter of the novel, or the novels, we find a playful use of the words in the presence that Bilbo gives to his friends and family relatives. They function, as riddles have functioned in antiquity, as a mild and humorous kind of satire of human weakness or propensities. In addition, and shortly after Strider, not yet known as Aragorn, is introduced to the plot, the reader again is given an enigmatic mark on the heel of Weathertop that he has to, Aragon, or Strider in this case, has to interpret. He rightly interprets it as a note from Gandalf. Further on the story, we read how Gandalf is challenged to find the password to the gates of Moria, with the description, speak friend and enter. And finally, perhaps, we have this Shakespearean, some have read it as a Shakespearean riddle, where the Lord of the Nazgul speaks in the siege of Gondor, no living man may hinder me. And Eowyn says, but no living man am I. You look upon a woman, Eowyn, I am Eowyn's daughter. And so she slays the Lord of the Nazgul. However, these are isolated instances that do not do justice to the riddle contests that we found in The Hobbit. For the exception, perhaps, of Gandalf's opening of the doors of Moria, they do not really advance the development of the story significantly, at least by themselves, nor function as a rite of passage for the characters to grow and develop. Does this then mean that Tolkien put aside the riddle tradition when he was writing The Lord of the Rings, his most important novel to be published during his lifetime? I don't think so, and I would like to show how in The Two Towers and the first chapters of it, we find a riddle contest that can be equated to that found in The Hobbit. Actually, in the first book of the volume, The Two Towers, we encountered the noun riddle at least 8 times. And the verb to read, meaning interpretation, along to guess, constantly throughout the pages. This is not worthy in itself, yet Tolkien himself has stated in a letter dated 1951 that The Lord of the Rings was begun in 1936, and every part has been written many times. Hardly a word in its 600,000 or more has been unconsidered. The placing, size, style, and contribution to the whole of all these features, incidents, and chapters has been laboriously pondered. So that's quite an statement. In the analysis that follows, I will present first an overview of each hidden riddle, so to say, presented in the first 2 and 5th chapters of The Two Towers, where the chase, as I said, of the 3 walkers, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, takes place in order to rescue their hobbit friends, Merry and Pippin. Afterwards, I will show the importance of the riddle context to Aragorn's character development. And finally, I would like to draw our attention to how nature itself, the earth, plays a key role in the guessing of each riddle. So let us start by, well, that's a previous edition of the of this PPT. It's 8 times at least that I found the word riddle in these chapters. So the riddle contest in The Two Towers. Made that little chart. That can help us. We can use it to as I continue explaining the 4 different riddles that the characters, and especially Aragorn, find in all these different natural spaces of Middle-earth over the period of 5 days. So there are 4 riddles dispersed along Amon Hen, Emin Muil, the fields of Rohan, and Fangor Forest, respectively, all of which require the correct reading or interpretation by Aragorn for the narrative to develop. The first riddle takes place in Amon Hen on the 26th of February. Boromir is slain, Merry and Pippin are taken captive by the orcs, and Frodo and Sam escape east, where their fate awaits. Aragorn, with the help of Legolas, recognizes the gear left on the ground by orcs, the gear, and learns that Merry and Pippin are being carried west to Isengard. After examination of the campgrounds, Aragorn spies footprints along the Bank River. A mixture of water and soil have revealed and made clear. These footprints reveal the course of the ring and enable Aragorn to answer this question. How do you read this riddle? With the solution, this then is the answer. Frodo has gone by boat, and his servants had gone have gone with him, or his servant has gone with him, sorry. Provided with the knowledge that the riddle has yielded, the three walkers make an informed and right decision to chase west. So there are the clues there, the place, the day, and the number. So now we go from riddle number 1 to number 2, which takes place on the reaches of the Emim Rill on the 27th of February. As they walk on the reaches of the Emim Rill, the three walkers, before the dawn of day, they find 5 dead orcs. Gimli exclaims, "Here is no riddle." And once again, Aragorn provides the right reading. Orcs must have slain themselves in an internal quarrel. This is followed by the finding of the root by the orcs. This is followed by they see the 5 dead orcs, and then they see water as well, which helps them find the right route to follow into the fields of Rohan. The third riddle is found among the grass of Rohan. Now they've stepped into the fields, and it happens with the rising of the sun, a very important point I would like to draw shortly on. With the new dawn, Aragorn notices a path that branches off the main track. There, following the footprints, he finds the elven brooch of the Lady Galadriel. The new finding is a sign to Aragorn and his companions that at least one of the hobbits, probably Pippin, lives, and that their course is right. A sign that renews the three walkers' hope in their quest. "This is heartening. We do not pursue in vain," exclaims Pippin. And finally, bear with me, I'll analyze them now in more detail and to see the relevance, but finally we have the fourth riddle that is found by the eaves of Fangorn Forest, taking place on the 30th of February and the 1st of March. The three walkers find a funerary mound belonging to the 15 men of Rohan fell in battle against the orcs. It is the most complex and difficult of the riddles. As Gimli states, we have been set many riddles since we came to Tol Brandir, but this is the hardest to unravel. Indeed, the three walkers have to wait for the rising of the sun, again, on the next day to find new signs that lead on the right path, that lead on the right path. In addition, a hooded and ominous figure appears at night, and the horses of three companions escape. Gimli suspects of Saruman, yet Aragorn remains skeptical. With the dawn of day, new signs are found: cramps in the grass, some pieces of cardboard, and a pale leaf of golden hue, rightly believed to come from Lothlorien, and used to wrap Limba's bread. In addition, the riverbank reveals new hobbit footprints that lead the three walkers to Treebed's Hill at the heart of Fangorn Forest. There, the hooded figure reappears, introduces himself enigmatically to the three walkers, and finally reveals himself. It is Gandalf the White, and with him all the riddles are answered. Now that I have provided an overview of the 4 riddles encountered by the three walkers and their placement in the narrative, I would like to analyze how their presence enables Aragorn to mature from a solitary ranger into his identity as heir to the throne of Gondor. As part of this transfiguration or transformation, as you wish, Aragorn is posed in each location or place with a riddle to solve, as we have seen already among Emil, Fields of Rohan, and Fangorn Forest. The unraveling of each riddle deepens Aragorn's perception and understanding of the natural world on which he stands, and offers him a renewed confidence in his own identity. Each of the 4 riddles challenges Aragorn as a contestant, and each time Aragorn proves himself an apt reader, an interpreter of the signs. Signs that in their riddling character provide counsel to the leader of the broken fellowship in order to choose the right course. From the first paragraph of the first chapter, Aragorn is presented as a reader of signs. And we read here, "Every now and again he bent to the ground. Hobbits go light, and their footprints are not easy, even for a ranger to read. But not far from the top, spring across the path. and in the wet earth he saw what he was seeking. Indeed, in each place, Amund Hen, Emil Rohan, and Farngur, as I have said, Aragorn is depicted stooping to the ground, examining the earth, and interpreting the signs found thereon. The image of him stooping to the ground is exceptionally recurrent, strengthening the association between sign and earth. So we have here the quote. But I think there is a misreading there, but not far from the top, he found spring across the path. So I continue. As an apt contestant, Aragorn is patient and thoughtful, qualities that reward him with the right choice. Of course, through the 5 days of chase. Unless the less perceptive Gimli, Aragorn is aware of the riddle contest and the necessity to unravel the riddles in order to succeed in his quest. Well, we have no time to ponder riddles, says Gimli. Let us bear Boromir away. But after that, we must guess the riddles, says Aragorn, if we are to choose our course rightly. His imagination to decipher each riddle is paired with prudence. I think, yes, and that's a quote now. And we have him there finding the elven brooch of Galadriel. His imagination to decipher each riddle is paired with prudence, another quality equally important for his success and character development. When pressed between resting or continuing the chase overnight on the second day, Aragorn takes the lead and chooses to rest for the peril of missing the trails or signs, as the narrator states. Likewise, Aragorn does not stretch his hand against the old man at Treebeard's heel before the 3 companions can know of his intention, even if his presence is ominous. We may not shoot an old man so, at unawares and unchallenged, whatever fear or doubt be on us, watch and wait. His compassion is rewarded, as the old man is Gandalf, who assures Aragorn that his pursuit is ended and that his choices have proven right in the end. Most importantly, Aragorn's role as reader of the signs leads him to become a listener of the earth itself. As the 3 companions most importantly, Aragorn's role as reader of the signs leads him to become a listener of the earth itself. As the 3 companions walk upon the fields of Rohan, the perceptive eyes of Aragorn notice the harm inflicted by orcs on the land itself. Where sight fails, the earth may bring us rumor, declares Aragorn. And then he stoops and lays on the ground to listen. He stretched himself upon the ground, with his ear pressed against the turf. He lay there motionless for so long a time that Gimli wondered if he had swooned or fallen asleep again. His willingness to listen to the earth speaks of a humility of character that is associated with the grass of the fields. It is the humility that enables him to unravel each mystery and gain counsel as to where to go with the coming of each day. Now we go to the most interesting part, I think, of Aragorn, that his association with the grass of Rohan and his identity as king and as leader, as king. The association between grass and his identity is further formed in the meeting with Eomer in the afternoon of the 4th day. In the conversation between the 2 leaders, grass and semantically related vocabulary acquires a very prominent place. Just as they meet, Aragorn is asked by Eomer whether he has a spring out of the grass. And again, a few lines later, Aragorn springs metaphorically between Eomer and his friends, as the narrator, that's the word used by Tolkien, to protect them from a fatal misunderstanding. Yet the most central part of the long conversation takes place when Aragorn reveals his true identity to Eomer. Aragorn threw back his cloak. The elven sheath glittered as he grasped it, and the bright blade of Anduril shone like a sudden flame as he swept it out. Elendil, he cried. I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and I am called Elessar, the Elfstone, Dunadan, the heir of Isildur, Elendil, son of Gondor. Here is the sword that was broken and is forged again. Will you aid me or thwart me? Choose swiftly. In his manifestation of his true identity as heir of Isildur and rightful king, Aragorn has already proven himself capable of unraveling the enigmas of Amonhen, Emimil, and Rohan. Earlier on in the morning of this day, he has learned to listen to the earth itself, and now that he uncloaks himself as king, Eomer, awed and humbled by Aragorn, strikes an association between Aragorn and the grass of the fields. He says, these are indeed strange days. Dreams and legends spring to life out of the grass. Aragorn has appeared unexpectedly in the fields of Rohan as a legendary figure of history. Aragorn is very well of the wonder produced in his interlocutors by his presence and uses now the imagery of grass to validate his identity as king. So he takes the motive, the image given by Eomer. Do we walk in legends or in the green earth in daylight? Asks a writer of the Mark, to which Aragorn answers, a man may do both, said Aragorn, for not we but those who come after will make the legends of our time. The green earth, say you, that is a mighty matter of legend, though you tread it under the light of day. There's a quote there. Not yet. Aragorn and his friends have been treated with little hospitality by the men of Rohan in their first encounter under the light of day. By his choice of words, Aragorn rebukes the lack of perception of the rocky world and creates a beautiful simile between the legendary quality of the earth and his own kingly ancestry. This introduces the last point of my analysis, which shows the relevance of the nature of Middle-earth in the solving of the four riddles, and confers the earth of a character-like quality. As the leader of the three walkers is elevated from his position as ranger, under the name of Strider, to the throne of Gondor as Aragorn, son of Arathorn, so now the grass of Rohan is raised from the ground and soil of the earth to the realm of legends. Indeed, Tolkien's treatment of grass in his fiction brings us out of the background of what we may term environment into the very focus of the narrative and makes of it, through his skill as a writer, a mighty matter of legend. So this come now to the last bit of the analysis. So there's a quote here by Legolas, read oft is found with the rising of the sun. And I don't know if it was very clear at the beginning, but the word riddle, as I said, has this meaning of counsel in Old English, which Tolkien was very aware of. And in the text, there is a pun with this word, since reed, used here by Legolas, meaning counsel, is linguistically related, meaning its roots share the same roots as riddle. So reed oft is found with the rising of the sun, and with each rising of the sun, there is a new riddle to unravel. As it may already have been glimpsed, nature has a strong protagonism in the unraveling of the four riddles. The natural world of Middle-earth participates in the riddle contest as a contestant of its own right. More precisely, earth, soil, and grass become counselors to Aragorn and his companions in the chase. Legolas' phrase, as I was referring now, read oft is found with the rising of the sun, introduces a theme, as each new morning brings a new riddle in Middle-earth that demands a solution. Stated, read shares the same linguistic root as riddle, strengthening the notion that each riddle brings counsel to the three companions and especially to Aragorn. This counsel, I argue, is found in the earth, which the three walkers tread under the light of day. As the second volume of the Two Towers opens, the reader finds an immediate reference to the earth in the context of Aragorn's search for signs. As we had read before, in the wet earth he saw what he was seeking. And along the theme of Aragorn as a sign reader, the theme of earth as counselor is introduced. They go together, hand by hand, I would say. As we read in the first and second riddles, the ground provides the necessary clues for the three walkers to choose the right course. A mixture of water and soil reveal the clear footprints of Frodo and Sam going into the Anduin River and then onto the Brownlands and beyond. Whereas the appearance of grass for the first time in the chase for the three walkers brings hope of finding their lost friends in the stony paths of Emi and Muil, where there's not really clarity of where the hobbits have gone, with the exception of west. So they find this track or route thanks to the grass. The signposting by the earth itself is repeated with the last riddle, when Aragorn finds further footprints by the bank of the Entwash and into the heart of Fangor, where Gandalf makes his appearance. So that's a little more evident, but basically grass and the earth is giving footprints, giving signs for Aragorn and his companions to follow, and it's part of this riddle, right? But also the grass of Rohan, invigorates the hobbits and the three walkers in the desperate chase. It diffuses them of a renewed strength. In the Hobbit focalized chapter, the Uruk-hai, which is the third chapter, we read how Merry and Pippin are carried captive down to the plains of Rohan. So we read it through their own eyes. Yet when the hobbits' feet touch the grass, the hearts are said to rise. At the bottom, they stepped onto the grass, states the narrator, and the hearts of the hobbits rose. The same effect takes place for Legolas, when he first breathes in the smell of the grass of Rohan with the dawn of the first day. And I read here the quote. Here the air was softer and warmer, and faintly scented, as if the spring was already stirring, and the sap was flowing again in herb and leaf. Legolas took a deep breath, like one that drinks a great draught after long thirst in barren places. Ah, the green smell, he said. It is better than much sleep. Let us run. The earth is a counselor in the riddle contest. It also a protector who gives shelter to the walkers from unknown dangers. So here's a third theme here with grass. As the readers of the mark approach on horseback, the three companions take shelter on the green grass. And we read, a little above the hill's foot they halted, and wrapping their cloaks about them, they sat huddled together upon the faded grass. Their cloaks fade in with the grass, and so give the three companions the advantage of surprise, as well as protection from any fatal confusion, as they're probably prone to be confused as orcs by the men of Rohan. We read of Eomer's amazed reaction when Aragorn decides to take the initiative and decides to meet him. At first, I thought that you yourselves were orcs, he said. I think I have it here. No. At first, I thought that you yourselves were orcs, he said. Now I see that it is not so. There is something strange about you, Strider. That is no name for a man that you give, and strange too is your raiment. Have you sprung out of the grass? How did you escape our sight? Are you elvish folk? As I brought above, note how Aragorn's association with the grass under the name of Strider functions as a veil to be uncovered to reveal his true identity. As we learn of Aragorn's true identity, or as Eomer learns about it, we are also given the opportunity to reflect on grass as a mighty matter of legend. Furthermore, strengthening the theme of the earth as counselor to the three walkers, the chase presents grass as a sentient character who suffers and consequently is capable of empathy and sympathy. The tread of the orcs gives a visible path for Aragorn and his companion to follow, but also inflicts pain upon the green earth. Just before Aragorn finds the elven brooch, the narrator comments on how the sweet grass of Rohan had been bruised and blackened as they, the orcs, passed. End of quote. These words provide the land of Rohan of a characterization parallel to other sentient characters of being in the story. The characterization of grass reaches its peak with the new dawn of the third day, as Aragorn lays on the ground to listen to the rumor of the earth, and says there, where sight fails, the earth may bring us rumour. The land must groan under their hated feet. Alas, he rose, and now his friends could see his face. He was pale and drawn, and his look was troubled. The rumour of the earth is dim and confused, he declares. The rumour of the earth is indeed the voice of a halting character, confused and disoriented because of the malice of the orcs, treading and dwelling upon it. Because of its suffering, the grass of Rohan sympathizes with Merry and Pippin, and the treatment they receive as captives. This makes of the grass an empathetic character with which the three walkers can identify with, as Aragorn does, suffer along, and be aided by. As a character that feels and acts, the grass of Rohan is not alone in the list of sentient natural landscape instances of Middle-earth. We could here include the Old Forest and the Pass of Caradhras, yet the analysis of these places lies beyond the scope of this paper. Nevertheless, the empathy of the earth is perhaps the clearest seen in the fourth and last riddle. Like the previous days of the chase, where the earth promptly provided the signs for Aragorn to pursue fodder, the earth now remains silent. Only Green Mount of Earth gives witness to the fight between the men of Rohan and the orcs by the eaves of Fangor Forest. And there are two of them. This is a picture from real life. This is Tolkien's depiction of Fangor Forest, since I lacked also a drawing of the mount. And we read that, not far from the river, there was a mount. It was newly raised. The raw earth was covered with fresh-cut turfs. About it were planted 15 spears. The turf that covers the soil, in which the 15 men lay buried, provides a powerful testimony of the human condition embraced by the earth itself. Here, grass seems to mourn with its silence. The death of the 15 men of Rohan fell in battle. The silence, as we noted, leaves the three companions without clue. However, the silence of the grass speaks of a deeper truth than the necessity to know the solution to a riddle. The grass bears testimony to human loss and grief, particularly that of death. The image of grass as empathetic, as well as witness to human loss, is actually concordant to Tolkien's own remarks on the overriding themes of the novel. The real theme, for me, he said, is about something much more permanent and difficult. Death and immortality, the mystery of the love of the world in the hearts of a race doomed to live, as could be the men of Rohan, and similarly lose it, the anguish in the hearts of a race doomed not to live it. Maybe else. It was 1956 when he wrote that in a letter. The earth, and in particular grass, acquired therefore the quality of a leitmotif, as new layers of significance are built for the soil with each rising of the sun in Middle-earth. Legolas' phrase, now again, read oft is found with the rising of the sun, encapsulates the motif of the earth as counselor, running through the pages of the 3th and 5th chapters of the Two Towers. As each day brings new riddles to unravel, the green earth, as it was with Aragorn, has transformed into a mighty matter of legend. Which leads us to the conclusions of the paper. A riddle assumes a veiled reality that nevertheless can be uncovered and known. For a riddle to unravel, imagination and reason play together as essential elements of a final solution. And when this is reached, a sudden emotion of wonder rises in proportion to how tangible the explanation was, and yet how easily it escaped our senses. This experience is not unlike the catastrophe described by Tolkien in On Fairy Stories. Their joy is the outcome of the sudden turn of events in the story, a joy described as poignant as sorrow that extends over and outside the story itself into history and our own lives. Likewise, the wonder brought by the solving of the riddle, and so by the discovery of a hidden truth, a reality, as it was often also understood in the ancient literature, or in the ancient genre Riddles, is transported from the realm of fiction. Sorry, I'll read it again. Likewise, the wonder brought by the solving of the riddle, and so by the discovery of a hidden truth of reality, is transported from the realm of fiction into our own sphere of life. Wonder invites us to apprehend reality afresh, an idea Chesterton was well acquainted with, and which he put to practice in his fiction, in the Father Brown detective stories. We know that Tolkien was, to some extent, influenced by him. Reality turns out to be unexpected, our assumptions and preconceptions are baffled, and for a second the world has turned upside down. To reveal the chaos of what we may term normality and the harmony of disruption. So it is with the riddles in the grass of Rohan, and what they reveal to us about Middle-earth and beyond. Firstly, riddles are significant for the narrative development and character construction in The Lord of the Rings. The first two chapters of the Two Towers are built upon interpretation of signs and the unraveling of enigmas, which enable the story to continue and grow towards its climax in the third book. Intrinsically, or the third volume, intrinsically related to the narrative is the growth of Aragorn into the king that he is by right of land. The right guessing of each riddle enables him to recover his confidence as leader of his companions and to present himself as the rightful king to Eomer. The growth that Aragorn undergoes is parallel to Bilbo's, as the latter's success in the riddle context against Gollum and Smaug succeeds in riddle contests. Secondly, riddles reveal the importance of place in Middle-earth. In The Lord of the Rings, landscape is not something left to the background. Middle-earth is a character of its own, or rather, multiple characters dispersed along the four corners of the map of the Third Age. Some of these are as malevolent as the Old Forest and the Pass of Caradhras. Others do not side with any particular group, as is the case, at least at the beginning, of Fangor Forest. And yet others seem to be eager to provide subtle aid, as seen in the grass of the fields of Rohan. One thing is clear, Middle-earth is very much alive, and the wisest characters in novels seem to be most in tune with it, as Aragorn has proven himself. Thirdly, since landscape itself works as a riddle to unravel, our attention is drawn towards the craft and design behind each place where each riddle is found. We find ourselves, as readers, paying attention to the ground and attempting to read the signs along Aragorn and his companions in the chase. By means of the literary device of the reader's curiosity is drawn towards the natural world itself. That is, the green grass, riverbanks, rocks, fields. Such riddles speak of wonder, and if these are found in the grass, the green place may reveal themselves to be, in Aragorn's words, a mighty matter of legend. And finally, if we consider riddles within the narrative, there must be an explanation for such creative puzzle. In the real context, there are always at least two parties involved, which take turns to guess each other's riddle. Such was the case of Gollum and Bilbo, as well as with Smaug, well, probably more with Gollum and Bilbo. Yet who poses the riddles of Rohan? The answer to this question is as outside the Lord of the Rings into the Silmarillion. In particular, the music of the Ainur gives us clues to the question. The reader finds there the creator artist Eru, as well as the Ainur, the Miur characters, in charge of the different realms of the world. It is here that the reader meets the characters of Aule and Yavanna. Together, they're responsible for the earth itself, both what lays below. Aule loves rocks and minerals and everything under the earth, and what lays above. Yavanna is particularly fond of grass, trees, and every green thing growing upon the soil of the earth. Together, they comprise the core of Middle-earth's biosphere. If we think of riddles as the craft of words put together by a creative and intelligent mind, the fields and grass of Rohan can then be understood as the crafted design of the divine artistry. This last point leads us to reconsider the landscape of Middle-earth as infused of a hidden divine presence. It also emphasizes the involvement of divine characters in the narrative of the Lord of the Ring and raises the question of God's presence in Middle-earth. As Giuseppe Pessini has pointed out, there is a veiled divine presence in the novels of the Lord of the Rings. The literary device of cloaking, explored by Pacini in his study of the divine narrative, The Lords of the West, harmonizes with the view of a cloaked divine presence in the green grass of Rohan. If so, The Lord of the Rings is a novel of mythopoetic character, capable of suggestion not only to our human condition, but also to our own place in the cosmos. It is an invitation to see the world around us with new eyes and recover the wonder of each blade of grass and call it beautiful. Thank you.